Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. And this week, I'm going to be scouring the floor here at Cisco Live in Las Vegas. So what does Cisco mean to you? And the company has a reputation providing IT products and services across 5 major technology areas, from networking, and by that I mean including Ethernet, optical, wireless and mobility. There's security, collaboration, and including voice, video and data centers, and the Internet of Things. I think I've covered most things there. But as you all know by now, this podcast is all about understanding how complex technologies can actually add value to businesses, and also maybe our lives too. So this week, I wanted to try and get a vast selection of stories and use cases on here to bring to life the impact that technology is having on everything from the classroom to the workplace and even motor racing. For example, the Vrain Valley School District is a socioeconomically and geographically diverse area based in Longmont, Colorado. It's actually home to 60 schools serving 33,000 students and spans 411 miles. And right at the heart of St. Vrain's core value is that each student should have equal access to the classes and learning tools that they need to succeed. But to bridge that gap, the leadership team soon recognised that it was technology and a new tech partnership that was needed to help staff, educators and students work together to close the digital divide. So with that scene set, buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Las Vegas, where you can join me and Michelle Bourgeois, CTO of St. Vrain Valley School District, on the show floor here at Cisco Live. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
I will do that. My name is Michelle Bourgeois. I serve as the Chief Technology Officer for the St. Vrain Valley School District in Colorado. We're about 30 miles north of Denver, and we have the good fortune of serving about 33,000 students that encompass about 411 square miles in Colorado. So I have the good fortune of being the person who gets to make sure all of the tech is working every day for all of our students, our staff, and our teachers, so that great learning can happen.
Fantastic. And as you said, St. Vrain Valley Schools, it's the educational home of more than 33,000 Colorado students. So I've got to ask, what brings you to a huge tech event in the middle of a desert?
Well, and this is my first time to be in Las Vegas, so it's been a lot of fun. But, coming from a learning institution, I think for us, learning is at the heart of what we do every day. So why wouldn't we want to continue to be learners? And in our IT department, so much is changing every day when it comes to new innovations in technology and how we connect and how we use it to support great teaching and learning. So we're here just to make sure that we're at the forefront of innovation in connectedness and community and building the great networks that our kids need to succeed and excel.
Awesome. And one of the first observations I've had is just looking around the show floor, and people seem so excited to be back out and talking and sharing ideas on the show floor. And it's really highlighted to me how the world has changed so much in the last 2 years. So can you tell me a little bit more about the scale of the problems that you encountered at that time when you were forced to embrace remote working and remote learning almost overnight?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge and an opportunity all wrapped into one. When I start thinking about the last 2 years now that we've had the opportunity to figure this out, and there's a word that comes to mind that I want people to think about. We use the word pivot an awful lot, and for any of you who are basketball fans, you know what pivot means. It's 1 foot on the ground and you rotate around your center. That would be one way that we could get through COVID, but what we tried to do in St. Vrain is really reimagine. So rather than just pivot around and hope that we came back to the normal that we knew before, trying to reimagine learning and figuring out where our learning from COVID and remote learning and hybrid learning can take us next. And so the change that we're seeing and the problems that we're seeing that came out of COVID are really around how do we build great communities when we maybe aren't face to face? And how do we actually make sure that the connectedness that a public education institution can bring to a community carries on? So how do we build environments in virtual spaces and in online spaces where students and teachers come together and build that connectedness that keeps great learning alive?
And I've got to ask, how difficult was it for teachers to adjust to that new way of teaching? Because it must have been quite daunting for them at the time.
For many schools and for many teachers, it was. We had some really good, fortunate events that happened well before COVID. So about 10 years ago in St. Vrain, our community voted in a mill levy override, which provided us with the funding to give one-to-one devices to our students. So we've had students going back and forth from home to school with devices for about 10 years. So that piece of the puzzle had already been solved. We also spent a lot of time thinking about quality digital materials. So about 8 years ago, we began moving away from a print textbook and moving a lot of our content into a digital format. So one-to-one devices, digital content. And then the third piece of that puzzle that really made the times of COVID a little bit easier for us was we began an initiative that we call the Blended Collaborative. So helping teachers understand how they can blend the physical and the digital environments in their classrooms so that students and teachers are not just lecturing and not just listening passively, but learning became more active. And technology was a big part of that. So for us, the challenges really came around equity. We've done great things in our classrooms for many, many years, but how do we make sure that all of those great environments can happen in a home where connectivity might be a challenge? And we know that equity equals access. And so trying to give that access to all of our students was one of the challenges that we got to work through, especially with thinking about how our teachers and our students use that access to connect with one another during the day. One of my favorite stories is if you can imagine back at the beginning of COVID and being a kindergarten teacher and a kindergarten student who knows nothing of school other than the face of your teacher on a screen. It was an amazing thing to see the connectedness that those teachers and students built together. And then the first time that one of our kindergarten teachers actually met her students, it was amazing to see these students that are like, so wait, you're not just a person on the TV. The TV is what they called it. You're actually a real live human being that I get to meet. And so remembering that the challenges for our teachers and our students, they know great teaching, they know great learning, they know how to build that connectedness. The challenge for them was just translating that into a new digital environment.
And when I knew I was going to be talking to you today, I did a little bit of research, and I read that your core value is that each student should have equal access to the classes and learning tools that they need to succeed. So can you explain how and why you turned to Cisco collaboration tools so that staff, educators and students could start closing that digital divide together, because it's not something that you could do on your own, is it?
No. And, Cisco's been a great partner in that. We had previously used Cisco for our network backbone and for our infrastructure. And WebEx was kind of the next tool in our tool set. We actually adopted WebEx about 6 months before we decided to shut down schools for COVID. And we went from, in about 10 days, we went from a couple of hundred meetings in a month to over 100,000 meetings in a month. So Cisco was a great partner in providing us with a stable product that was secure, that we could easily scale and meet the needs of our teachers and our students. So for us, that physical presence that WebEx was able to provide to us really helped us build that community that we knew was so important. And in fact, even in our IT team, folks think of IT people as behind screens and never being interactive, but we really bring a sense of ourselves to our work. And so for us, having things like WebEx Team Spaces kept that connection alive within our team as well. In fact, it's transformed the way that we do business in IT because we're always connected, whether we're in the office, whether we're remote. We can keep those connections alive, even with just fun things like a space that we've created that we call Remotables. So a space that our IT team gets to use to just share family stories and pictures and celebrations, and bringing that personality to our work, and then seeing our teachers and our students able to do the same has been a really great partnership with Cisco.
And I suppose just to bring that to life and everything that we've talked about here at Cisco Live, can you offer maybe a before and after picture of what you faced in 2020 and compare what it was like then to what it's like now?
Sure. And, we talked a little bit about that access and technology, but one of the things that came out of COVID that I think is going to really transform education moving forward is the physical presence that a teacher has isn't dependent on the physical space that a student and a teacher share. And so a program that we're beginning in St. Vrain is called Agile. So Advanced Global Innovative Learning Environments. So what does it mean when we have a school district of 411 square miles? So it takes about 45 minutes on a good day to get from one side of the district to another. And when you think about the one French 4 teacher in the one school who has students from across the district who would love to take that class, and they have to make a choice. Do I drive for 40 minutes to see this teacher and take this one class that's only offered in one space? Or can we screens on and cameras on and start to teach those classes in a remote setting or even in a hybrid setting? So for us, one of the things that came out of COVID is the understanding that while physical presence is always important and the connections in the community that we build in learning is always important, Agile is giving us the opportunity to expand those educational access opportunities that our kids are always looking for. And we like to say that geography shouldn't limit your opportunity. So providing that opportunity for every student to take any class in our district is a real eye-opener for us. And it's really changing the way we think about scheduling. It's changing the way we think about student opportunity. It's giving our students a chance to really build their passions and their curiosity in areas that maybe they never knew that they had access to.
Now, you've experienced a massive culture shift that has impacted both staff and students. I've got to ask, though, did you initially face any resistance, and how did you get everyone on board to quickly embrace new ways of teaching and learning? Because I think it was a journey that everyone was going on at the time, but how did you get through that?
Deep breaths and lots of late nights. No, seriously, we have a great culture in our school district, and, everyone leaned into how can we make this the best that we can do. And I think that the mantra that we used a lot is the future is flexible. So remembering that the flexibility that we need to bring to situations like this and understanding that there was no one right path forward because no one had ever actually had to try to design this path. And so our resistance came mostly from just the unknown, the uncertainty, and the curiosity that we brought to the situation. I think is what helped us get through that. So having a team that was intensely dedicated to our mantra of enriching education and preparing our students for their own future success, kind of built or dissolved the resistance and brought us back to a place to where we just continue to push forward because we knew it was right for kids and right for learning.
Yeah, and I would say that the teachers, the kids, the parents have all been on an incredible journey as well. I know a lot have struggled with having to learn things there. But, where do you go from here? How are you still reimagining the future of education in a way that, as we said at the very beginning of the conversation, benefits every student and reduce that digital divide? Yeah,
the Agile program is one way in which we're doing that. So giving kids across our district the opportunity. But we don't want to stop there. We see that there's so much opportunity to minimize the inequities that we see in public education across our state. In Colorado, we're the 7th largest school district in the state, so we serve about 33,000 students. But there are school districts in our state where a K-12 institution is 250 kids. And so the opportunities that those students have who want to remain in their community, who are committed to that community, just will never equate to what we can provide in St. Vrain. And so we're actually talking about expanding our Agile program out into our rural districts. So offering those students the chance, again, screens on, cameras on, and giving them a chance to do that. The other thing that we're really thinking a lot about is the future workforce pipeline. We know that IT is one of the most in-demand fields, and yet finding enough quality folks to join the field is a challenge for education and for every industry out there. And so one of the things that we've started several years ago is a program called P-Teach, Pathways to Technology, Early College, High School. So imagine that you were a freshman and you were intensely curious about, we have 3 programs now, computer information systems, cybersecurity, and a biomedical field. So imagine that you are a 9th grader intensely curious about these areas, and you can start taking your college classes as early as your 9th grade year. And by the time you graduate from high school, you have the opportunity not only to earn your high school diploma, but you get an associate's degree. So we're building the future workforce directly out of us. Cisco's been a great partner in that, in providing us mentors for those students so they can start to get a feel for the industry, as well as providing internships for these students. So they come out of high school not only with a sense of what the potential in a future in technology could look like, but with folks who are standing beside them to help them kind of shepherd them into this new career opportunity, and with experience that I think would rival any industry expert that you can put on the field today. So for us, thinking about, public education really is a driver of economic success. And in St. Vrain, we really see ourselves as kind of the driver of the success of our community. So building programs like P-Teach gives us the chance to actually show to the community it's not just about the expense of your that you put into our schools, but it's the investment that you're making in the future of our community. We know that when public schools are successful, it drives the economic success of a community in property values, in business and industry wanting to be a part of your community. And so for us, where we go from here is really where our community needs us to be, and building that future workforce pipeline is a huge piece of that for us.
And it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because I think the tech skills shortage is huge at the moment. It's such a big topic, especially I was reading the other day that cybersecurity, I think the unemployment rate is 0%. And there's jobs that are just completely unfilled. And so we need to get the kids ready for that, don't we?
And can you imagine, I think back to my own career or education, can you imagine like if we had this opportunity for us and just the great opportunities we're giving to our kids? We actually this summer, for the first time in our IT department, are hiring 4 students, 2 who are joining our DevOps team and 2 who are joining our InfoSec team. So those high school students or sophomores this year are coming in and helping us kind of monitor our network. They're building solutions for some of our other departments, and it's impressive to see them side by side with career professionals and holding their own. In fact, one of the students said, this is my 3rd programming language I've learned, and I guess this will be the 4th one. And so they come in with just this eager drive to learn, and it's energizing to our department too to see that the future of technology, the future of the IT industry is going to be driven by kids like this who are just super excited about the opportunities that education can bring to them, and just so excited to become part of the community of IT future leaders.
Oh, 100%. And it's great to hear about the journey that you've been on and how you're solving or helping to solve that tech skill shortage and bring the next generation into tech. But obviously there's a lot of people going to be listening in the world of education at the very beginning of that journey, should I say. So for anyone listening just wants to maybe stay in touch or look at some of the work that you're doing or carry that conversation on, what's the best way of finding you on the internet?
Sure. If you'd like to learn more about St. Vrain Valley Schools, you can find us online at SVVSD.org, St. Vrain Valley School District. If you'd like to learn more about kind of the work we're doing in IT, I'd love to invite you to find us on Twitter. I am at Twitter at MILOBO, my Lobo, Michelle Louise Bourgeois. And you can also find our tech department at SVVSD DTS on Twitter. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, I'll add those links to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. Like I said, the kids have been on a journey, the teachers have been on a journey, you have, your school, and indeed the parents. And it's great to hear how you've come out the other side and how we're passing on these new leaders into the world of technology. But more than anything, just thank you for taking the time out from that busy show floor to come speak with me today. Thank you
so much.
As you can imagine, the show floor here at Cisco Live is a hive of activity. And it's great to see people all over the world talking, sharing ideas and solutions. And I think that's something that we've all been missing over the last few years. And I cannot thank Michelle enough for taking the time to leave that show floor for just a few moments and come and join me in a conversation too. And if education and edtech are topics close to your heart, please let me know your thoughts on today's interview. As always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, just @NeilC.Hughes, and we'll keep this conversation going. So a big thank you today for taking a few minutes out of your day to listen to this conversation, but it's time for me to hit that show floor again now and find another guest for tomorrow. And I just wanted to say a big thank you as always for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.